Our top story today. In a landmark judgment, India's Supreme Court has upheld the right to choice, ruling that all women in India are now entitled to a safe and legal abortion. The landmark judgment rules that all women, irrespective of their marital status, will be allowed the right to abort. Any distinction between married and unmarried women will be seen as unconstitutional. The court also stressed that the marital status of a woman cannot be grounds to deprive her of the right to choose. The top court says to believe that only married couples have sexual intercourse is not practical, which is why unmarried women seeking abortion should be treated in an equal light. They will be given 24 weeks to go through the process. In another major decision, women pregnant due to marital rape will also be granted the right to abortion. The justices agreed that the abortion law needs to change according to the social realities, which means that under the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act, the definition of rape will now include marital rape. Experts say this observation may pave the way for later judgments. Remember, marital rape is not yet recognized as a crime by Indian law. This verdict comes after 25-year-old unmarried woman filed a petition in the Supreme Court. The woman had appealed against a Delhi High Court order which had rejected her the right. She was 23 weeks into her pregnancy. Soon after this, the Supreme Court asked the Delhi High Court to look into the 2021 amended law, which clearly replaced the word husband with partner. So, as the 25-year-old met all criteria, she was finally granted an abortion. For more on this, WION's principal correspondent Aditi Gupta sent us this report from New Delhi.
In a significant judgment, the Supreme Court of India has today upheld Indian women's right to choice. The Supreme Court says that unmarried women have the right to abortion of up to 24 weeks of their pregnancy, which was not allowed under the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act until now. The court says that any distinction between married and unmarried women when it comes to abortion is unconstitutional. So far, unmarried women have been excluded from Rule 3B of the MTP Act, under which only minors, rape victims, mentally ill women and women with fetal malformation were allowed to abort pregnancy of up to 24 weeks.
And for more on this, we are now joined by Dr. Ranjana Kumari. She is the director of the Center of Social Research here in India. Dr. Ranjana Kumari, thanks so much for speaking to WION. Now, today's verdict is being hailed as a landmark one because the Supreme Court has clearly said that no distinction will be made now between married and unmarried women. All women, regardless of their marital status, are now entitled to a safe and legal abortion. Would you agree that the Supreme Court of India has sent out a very important and strong message, not just to women in India, but really to the world? Because this comes at a time when women in so many countries, including the United States, are fighting for abortion rights.
Yes, absolutely. We really wholeheartedly welcome this judgment, especially because not only that MTP was available for women in India, always Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act gave opportunity to women for abortion. But as it was very clearly, as you also noted, the clause which barred the unmarried women. And as a result, they used to go for all kinds of, risky abortions. And they did go for abortion. There were a lot of problems that followed. Now, there are two very significant developments, and I think when we were fighting for change in sexual assault law to Verma Commission, we made the presentation that marital rape should be legislated and criminalized, but our parliament did not consider it, and it was dropped from that recommendation. And now with Supreme Court's this verdict, they have recognized that there is rape in marriage. Marital rape has been, in a way, recognized by this judgment, and we are very happy about it because, this is the hypocrisy of our society that, both things, that unmarried people will not engage in sexual act, And also the other hypocrisy that there is no rape in marriage, and why do you want to bring state into the bedroom of people? But when crime happens in the bedroom, then certainly state has to intervene, police has to intervene, law has to be enforced. So we are very, very happy about both these, acknowledgement, recognition, and the pronouncement of Supreme Court of India that you should include unmarried girls, because sexual intercourse happens premarital, relationships get established, and women can get pregnant, and they should be allowed to go for abortion. And second thing, that there is rape in marriage.
Yes.
And if a woman gets pregnant because of that, should we go for abortion?
Absolutely. Dr. Ranjana Kumari, these are very important aspects of this judgment, which is why, in a sense, it is a landmark judgment. The court clearly said that to assume that only married couples engage in sexual intercourse is completely impractical. So that distinction with regard to marital status has been completely done away with. The other important aspect, as you mentioned, is that the Supreme Court has, in a sense, recognized marital rape, even if so far in the limited context of abortion. Now, women's rights activists in this country have been fighting for a long time now to have marital rape recognized as a criminal offense. But we've seen over the years and decades that no political party really has shown the political will to bring in a legislation that would criminalize marital rape. How hopeful are you that this verdict of the Supreme Court could indeed pave the way for a legislation of this nature?
Well, I think it is clearly victory of women's movements, pushing for this whole idea. Decades we have gone for asking for this, but never our parliament responded to it. Now that the court has clearly, and you know that these are deemed law, once the Supreme Court's judgment comes in, then Vishakha, for example, Vishakha guidelines did lead to sexual assault law, the whole sexual harassment at workplace law. So I think similarly, we do see the response will be built and will be coming from our parliament, because the parliament cannot ignore these judgments made by the Supreme Court of India, and women will take. I mean, this opens a door to women, and they will quote this whole judgment and can go to the court and take when they are really brutalized, exploited, raped in marriage, then certainly they can go to the court now. So we do have a precedence through this judgment that women can use it. So I'm sure logical conclusion is that the parliament should legislate it, and we are going to push for it. We have been fighting for it, and we are going to push for it further.
All right. So will India's parliament finally legislate to criminalize marital rape? That remains a million-dollar question. But for now, clearly this Supreme Court verdict is being hailed by one and all, because it's a very progressive legislation, one that upholds women's right to choice and sends out a very, very positive message to women, the governments and courts around the globe. Thanks very much, Dr. Ranjana Kumari, for sharing your thoughts with us on WION.
Thank you for having me.